And hello from Brazil, the fifth largest nation in the world, one that offers incredible contrast. From the massive Amazon River, which slices through the globe's largest rainforest, to one of the largest cities in the world, Sao Paulo. There's a seeming grandeur to everything Brazilian. That includes Rio de Janeiro, where for the second time, soccer's world champion will be crowned. All around this gorgeous country, from the cities to the breathtaking beaches, Brazilians await kickoff of the next World Cup. And these fans and their unique love affair with the game will be on display for all to see. The time has arrived, the 47-month-long countdown, down to one final day. "24 hours from now, time will stop. Billions of people on Earth will turn their eyes to the home of the beautiful game. For the next 31 days, the hopes, victories, and failures of 32 teams will ignite every corner of the globe. Brazil is counting on a fairy tale to heal the scar Uruguay left at the Maracanã in 1950. Klinsmann believes the fresh young talent from the U.S. will push the veterans through the group of death. Peralta and El Tri are looking to restore their pride and overcome a bumbling trek through qualifying. Lionel Messi won the Golden Boot and the Golden Ball. But there is an elusive piece of gold for which he still yearns. Spain may be the best team in the game's history.
Viva España!
A back-to-back World Cup title could be in their future. Time will tell. As another historic chapter unfolds in the 2014 FIFA World Cup.
Welcome to the 2014 FIFA World Cup Preview Show. ESPN's coverage is presented by T-Mobile.
Hello from Brazil. This time tomorrow we'll be getting set for kickoff. And Neymar, one of the biggest names and biggest stars in the world. There he is on the left, walking in with Dani Alves up in Sao Paulo as they check out the pitch. One last training before Brazil gets to open the World Cup on home soil. We welcome you to Copacabana Beach, famed in Rio de Janeiro. It is our home for the next month as we cover the 20th World Cup and every game start to finish on ESPN, ESPN2, and ABC. Hi, everyone. Mike Tirico, the second time that Brazil has hosted a World Cup, and we have about 23, which is what the teams can bring to bring it to you. What a great team we have. You'll be meeting everyone over the next couple of hours, and Landon Donovan has joined our team. We have the number 10 available for him, and he will join us throughout the coverage of the tournament and in this show. Alexi Lawless, Taylor Twellman, you know them from our U.S. soccer coverage throughout the years. Roberto Martinez back with us, the manager at Everton. Guys, for those who love the sport, this is Christmas Eve, and the beauty is Christmas Day repeats itself about 30 times for the next month.
It's quite a dream, Mike. I think is what we all been thinking about this World Cup, coming to Brazil, see these incredible teams enjoying football, and you go from day to day with a big smile, forgetting about how old we are, and just enjoying this passion, which is the game.
The only difference is, though, Mike, Christmas comes every year. This comes every 4 years, and the storylines in it, and the blood, sweat, and tears that go on in qualifying. This is a dream come true. I don't know about you guys. It's very difficult to sleep right now. I know you're not sleeping. Look at you.
Guys, I love you. I love working with you, but I cannot wait to get back to my hotel and get in bed, because the sooner I get into bed, the sooner I fall asleep, the sooner tomorrow comes, and the sooner tomorrow comes, the sooner the World Cup comes, and I am jacked up.
Do you have 2 hours left in you?
No.
Don't worry, I'll work.
They make good coffee down here. We can get you a cup, and we'll get you through the 2 hours. And we'll do that by telling the stories of this World Cup and perhaps the biggest the host nation, Brazil. We showed you some of the players arriving in Sao Paulo, 265 miles west of us. Fred, another one of the many players who carry such pressure but such promise that Brazil can win a 6th World Cup and a 1st on home soil. Will they take the title that now belongs to the Spanish? Spain, the only teams, really, Italy in the 30s, Brazil 58 and 62 to go back-to-back, and they would like to join the group. Of course, we have the contingent from around the globe, including the teams back home that you are focusing on, if not for the individual stars. There is Mexico after that massive struggle to qualify, getting some help from the Americans. Miguel Herrera's team has a little bit of a different positive vibe as they come into this World Cup. And of course, there is Team USA and their quest. If there's a headline, the U.S. is trying to get out of the group stage into the round of 16 in back-to-back World Cups for the first time ever. And man, has it been a ride with great intrigue and some eyebrow-raising moments and comments from Jurgen Klinsmann, and that continued again today. So we'll talk more USA in a second, but I want to get to the entire Cup. What are the questions you want to see answered?
Two, one off the field. One of the biggest stars here at the World Cup is the country of Brazil. And to see how they host this tournament, what happens over the course of the next month, because there's still a lot of questions, and see how we come out the other end and what that message is. And then on the field, it's Spain. For me, the greatest national team ever to play the game. Certainly if they were to be the first European team to come to the Americas and win a World Cup, I think it would be beyond question. It's not just the wins. It's how they have gone about winning and almost redefining the way we look at soccer.
Alexa, you talk about the greatest teams. When we look at the history of it, guys, in the history of World Cups, we think about the greatest players that have ever played the game. We've been extremely lucky over the last 4 years what Ronaldo and Messi have done. I raise this question. If Messi wins the World Cup in the most bitter rival country of Argentina, in Brazil, Roberto, he puts his name is among the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time, including Maradona.
Well, and that's the place to do it, in Maracanã. But my focus goes clearly in the game, clearly in how the European sides are going to prepare, how the European sides are going to see their role coming to a South American World Cup. As we all know, non-European team has won the World Cup in the Americas. And some of that, yes, there are the conditions and there is how you play the game here. The other one, I think, is still in the heads of these players coming over to the World Cup. So really, really interesting to see how these teams are going to adapt to it.
You talk about the humidity. It is winter here in the Southern Hemisphere, but obviously still very warm throughout Brazil, especially some of the sites where the U.S. has to play. So their training has been so important. Let's get back to the U.S. story. They are one of 15 teams that are training right around Sao Paulo, and there was open training for fans to come watch today. Also media availability, and as has been the case throughout this run-up, Jurgen Klinsmann made some news. Here's Jeremy Schaap with Team USA.
In the most recent edition of the New York Times Magazine, Jurgen Klinsmann was quoted saying the U.S. cannot win this World Cup because we're not at that level yet. Wednesday, in his first press conference since arriving in Brazil for the World Cup, he was asked about those comments made in December, and he refused to distance himself from what he said.
You also have to be realistic. You know, I think we are getting every year making another step forward. We're getting stronger. We always now approach games where we say, you know, we don't look at ourselves as an underdog, even if a lot of people want to put us as the underdog in this very difficult group. We're not. You know, we're going to go in there and take the game to Ghana, and they will take it to us, and then we'll go back and forth, and hopefully the people see an exciting game, you know, and us as a winner at the end of the day. And then we go from there. I think, you know, for us now, talking about winning a World Cup, you know, it's just not realistic. You know, once you make it through that group that we're in, well, we're not shying away from anybody. You know? But first, we got to make it through the group. So let's stay with our feet on the ground and say, let's get that group first done, and then the sky is the limit. You know? But beforehand, half a year before, or even now today, before the World Cup starts, to say that we should win the World Cup is just not realistic.
While Klinsmann knows quite a bit about what it takes to win the World Cup, he's clearly still learning how Americans respond to negativism, regardless of the honesty underlying it. Of course, Mike, no one would more prefer to be wrong on this subject than Klinsmann.
For sure, Jeremy. Let's discuss that in a moment a bit more. I want to go through the U.S. schedule one more time. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It is Ghana, the team to knock out the U.S. in the last two World Cups, and you're going to say that's a must-win, a must-3 points for the U.S. Then there's Portugal. If there are questions on the back line for the U.S., they better be settled, because in the final friendly, Ronaldo looked like he's fit and ready to roll. And then there's Germany, Klinsmann's native land. we'll discuss a lot in the 10 days those matches take place. All right.
Here
Alexi.
we go, Mike.
Well, it's just
He's
interesting.
fuming over here. Look at him.
It was in an interview that was published in the New York Times Magazine on Sunday, and it went back to December when Klinsmann made those comments. But again, twice he repeated it in that Jeremy Schaap piece. The U.S. winning the World Cup, that's not realistic. You've played, you're in the locker room, your coach says that. How would you react?
I'd probably want to talk to him after that. I mean, look, there's an entire campaign devoted to saying, I believe that we can win. Okay? It's not a problem to say that you're going to win. Just stop saying that you're not going to win.
So if he comes out and says the United States can win the World Cup, you don't think that he's being honest? What's wrong with it?
I believe that we can win.
Yeah, but what we're arguing right now, is this right or wrong what Jurgen's doing? I think it's motivation.
You think it's motivation?
100%. You think behind closed doors, before they play Ghana, he's telling them, listen, we can't win?
You can't have it both ways. You can't tell me that that you're not the underdog in your group that features Ghana, Portugal, and Germany,
right,
and then say, yeah, but we can't win the World Cup.
See, I have absolutely no problem with it.
You think he's going back in the locker room saying, hey, guys, what I said out there, don't believe it.
Yes, I do. Because otherwise, then why come and show up to the games? I really believe he's telling Dempsey, Bradley, Timmy Howard. But we've got a coach sitting to my left.
Exactly.
Is it right or wrong what Jurgen Klinsmann did, Roberto?
Well, I think it's 100% right. And the reason for it is this is the first World Cup that we got all the World Cup winners that they've been in the tournament. The only teams that before the tournament are allowed to answer that question or being forced to answer that question are the ones that they won the tournament previously. All the others is give a little bit of direction, and you need to get a path. And the players want to know how you're going to do that. I think Jurgen Klinsmann is very clear. Look, we're not going to be underdogs. We're not going to be playing with a fear that who we're playing against. They know what they want to do, but their first target is to get through the group stages.
Do you think if Belgium is asked if they can win the World Cup, they say no?
They won't be asked, because Belgium only got past the semi-finals. It's unrealistic. I cannot be in my league, in the Premier League. And
can you win the Premier League next year?
If you ask me in August, my answer cannot be yes. It can.
Why?
It can't.
Why can't it be
Either
that?
way, it doesn't matter what us 3-4 of us are sitting here. It matters what the 23 men in the locker room believe, and that's the only thing Jurgen's concerned about.
And with so many of these things, whether he lets us on or not, there's calculation to it.
Absolutely.
So whatever it's calculated for this tournament and the behind-the-scenes conversation, or for 4 years down the road, because his contract does go 4 more years, it feels like there's some calculation to the conversation in the comments.
Yeah, Mike, I want to remind everyone, Bruce Arena said this in 2002 in an AP article, yet you're going to tell me it was 2002, but he's not the first.
It's 2014 now.
Yeah, so what's the difference? Why no uproar when Bruce Arena didn't know too? I don't have a problem with it.
It's motivation. It's a different timetable. And by the way, the reason why this is news is because, once again, it's back to Jurgen Klinsmann. Jurgen Klinsmann is the star of this team, and he wants it that way.
But Alexi, how would you find, or how would you feel if Jurgen Klinsmann comes out and says, we can win the World Cup, and then you draw against Ghana? That's a disaster. And as a manager, you need to see a bit of a path. And drawing against Ghana is not the end of the world.
No.
Right. If you are just focusing on getting through, it is the end of the world if you expect them to win the World Cup.
Let's table the conversation for a moment. It will continue, and we'll ask Landon Donovan about it when he joins us at the top of the hour in our 2-hour preview.
He made our 23.
He made our 23, and I'm curious what he thinks about that comment from Klinsmann. So we'll discuss that as we go along. Obviously, we are just the 4 of our team of 23, and it is a privilege to be with my pal, my friend, our colleague, Bob Lee, who's covering his 7th World Cup for ESPN. We'll share the hosting duties. Bob, like the USA with Ghana, none of us ease into this thing this week.
The world is going right into this World Cup, Michael, and no hesitation about it. As you look out of the first week of this tournament, day by day by day, there are headline games that will galvanize this planet. You can begin tomorrow. Brazil and Croatia, the opening match. Already, Dani Alves of Brazil has said, we, the Brazilians, the Celes Almas, send a message more than just 3 points. Send a message to future opponents. Croatia, offensive-minded. Our coverage begins, as you see, at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Spain and the Netherlands on Friday. This will shape the tournament more than any other first-round game, more than just a rematch of the last final. Remember, number 2 in that group will probably play Brazil, and Brazil is sitting there and watching this very carefully. Then on Saturday, our first visit to the jungle. We go to Manaus, England and Italy. Now, neither of these teams seated in the group. It's unlikely they'll both go through, so we'll get a good barometer early on who might be the team that will be going home after group play. And, of course, on Sunday here in Rio, Argentina against Bosnia-Herzegovina. Leo Messi in search of that piece of hardware that still continues to elude him. To ask any Brazilian quietly, Argentina, that's the team, that's the nation that really concerns them if Brazil are to win this cup. Then on Monday, the early game in Group G, Germany and Portugal. They're playing in Salvador, each believing they could be the first European nation to win a World Cup here in South America. Of course, that game featuring the promise, the pride, and the skills of Cristiano Ronaldo. And then, of course, the evening game on that group from the towel. The marker's been laid down by Jurgen Klinsmann. We, the United States, he says, need 3 points against Ghana if we have any realistic chance of advancing out of the group. And our coverage there begins at 5:30. So many different headline moments in games. Other headline news here from the World Cup. Major vote tonight in Sao Paulo by transit workers whether to reestablish their strike of the subway system. If they do, tomorrow's opener will have all sorts of problems. Public polling here in Brazil continuing to show majority of Brazilians feel that the money, the $12 billion spent on this cup, not spent wisely. 160,000 security forces on call around this nation to deal with demonstrations. On the FIFA front, FIFA President Sepp Blatter has been told yesterday by UEFA, European soccer officials, they will not support him if he runs for an unprecedented 5th term. And Blatter has labeled as racism in the media all the reporting and the allegations of bribery and scandal surrounding the Ghana 2022, I should say Qatar 2022 World Cup bid. Also here in Brazil, tomorrow is the traditional celebration of their St. Valentine's Day, but they're asking everyone here celebrate it today and worry about the football tomorrow. As one person said, I kiss you today, I kiss the jersey tomorrow. Which seems like a fine moment to bring in our colleague who will also be sharing our hosting duties from BT Sport in London, Lindsay Hipgrave. It's going to be a joy to spend this month with you. Thank you.
There's nowhere else I'd rather be right now, absolutely.
Are you one of those Brits, I know you're from up Sunderland way, who believe that the magic...
Newcastle.
All right, 1966 could be revisited and the magic can reoccur?
Well, I don't want to upset Alexi on my first day, so I'm going to say absolutely yes, England can win the World Cup.
Will they?
Nothing wrong with unrealistic expectations, but
right.
I think we can get out of the group, that's for sure.
A reading out of the book of Klinsmann, a little bit of optimism, a little bit of calculation. Take us to break.
OK, lots still to come on our World Cup preview show, including more on the poster boy of this World Cup. We'll be talking about Neymar, who is... you can see the Brazilian team heading out at the moment. This is right now live pictures. Big Phil Scolari there. You can see the expectation on the faces of the fans as the team warm up ahead of their group opener against Croatia tomorrow. What a moment. We'll be back soon.
The 2014 FIFA World Cup Preview Show. ESPN's coverage is presented by T-Mobile and in part by Bacardi. Live passionately, drink responsibly. Bacardi, untamable since 1862. Welcome back to the 2014 FIFA World Cup Preview Show. ESPN's coverage is presented by T-Mobile.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by ESPN, so hit pause and grab a pen. Here is how you make a caipirinha. Cut a few limes into thick slices, then muddle in the bottom of a simple glass. Pour in a few fingers of cachaça. Add sugar or don't add sugar. Drink 3 or 4 if your team wins, or twice that many if it loses.
You need to know that. You do need to know that if you're coming to Rio de Janeiro and find your way along the beach, as the ocean comes right to downtown and these vistas just unfold for you with the city in the backdrop. Walk up and down the beach. All sorts of diversions are available as we continue our 2-hour look at World Cup 2014. You all know Casey Keller, most clean sheets of any U.S. goalkeeper. Santiago Solari is with us, Gilberto Silva. Let's meet these gentlemen who are part of our team, our 23, as it were, who are with us here in Brazil. Gilberto, of course, twice playing for Brazil on teams that fell just short, and then in 2002, he lifted the trophy as a World Cup champion. 93 caps for his native country. Santiago Solari, Argentine international, also from the Champions League, winning with Real Madrid as well. Gentlemen, it is good to have you here as we look at Group A. I mentioned earlier what Dani Alves had said. about what Brazil needs to try and do against Croatia. Send a message, not just 3 points. We understand at this very moment Brazil are on the pitch in São Paulo going through their paces. When you heard him say that, Gilberto, what did you think?
I believe, the points that he wants to say, because everyone is talking about that they have a young team for the moment. They didn't play for the qualification to be here right now, because we are the host of the competition. He wants to send this message, not only for the result, but also because they want everyone to be, to think about, listen, we are Brazil. We are strong enough. You can handle all this pressure and go through it and do what nobody can expect us to do.
When you heard that, though, Santi, I know you had a very different reaction.
Everybody knows what Alves is trying to do. He's trying to start creating this atmosphere that they already did it in the Confederations Cup with all together. It's a message for themselves, for the locker room, and for the people as well. But being realistic, I would focus being Brazil in winning the first game. Even if it is 1-0, it's crucial, the first game, and there's no need to win it 7-0. And it's a difficult team as well, Croatia.
Yeah, Croatia's a decent team. I mean, they're a former semifinalist in '98. I mean, it's a team that knows kind of how to win games, how to win on the big occasion. And then there's another little team in this group, Chile. They're a team that, young team, coming up, a big question about Vidal. How is his fitness going to be? Obviously a huge component for them going forward, but it's three. I don't think really people are thinking Australia has much of a chance out of this group, but there's 2 out of 3 teams going to be tight, going to be tough, and obviously Brazil, home. They've got to be a favorite.
Now let's just reset for those at home. You're learning the groups, of course, getting into the World Cup. Brazil, the seeded team in the group, they open against Croatia, Mexico in the group as well. And Cameroon, you see the Soccer Power Index indications. We've talked a lot in the last several days, Roberto, about how Brazil, and when this concerns you a little bit, they get that first bump on the road. Maybe Croatia get the early goal. Maybe something happens. What are you looking at to see the way they react, this Brazilian side?
But this is a moment that come, for the reality, because everyone is expected for the moment. And I think from now on until tomorrow, the time of the game, the anxiety for the game starts, be massive. And everyone is expect that. Everyone will look at them and see what they can do in this game to handle all this pressure around them, and also the pressure on the field to be, as Santi said, of course Daniel wants to send a message, but it's important to start this competition, win the game, and from then on, and then you see how you progress.
Who do you like coming second here?
Well, if I had to gamble, I would choose Croatia. Croatia did a very good qualification round, came second only behind Belgium. Belgium is the surprise of this, or everybody expects them to be the surprise. But I think Croatia can be the surprise team of this World Cup.
We ran into a guy last night, a Mexican fan, that really felt that Mexico had already won by just being at this World Cup because it was so difficult for qualification. And you just wonder if that transfers into their team and they just kind of think, whew, we made it. Or does that relieve all the pressure from them and they know they can go into games without any kind of expectation from their people and can just play and, beat Cameroon and then see what happens after that.
Yeah, the history of the Cup is full of clubs that have trouble just getting here, but then they can turn the switch, and they've been a different team. We will talk at greater length in our program in this 2-hour preview, Michael, about the Mexican side, but the fates of A and B are intertwined because it's so delicious what you have in Group B.
Yes, could have a very good start to the knockout phase because of that, Bob. We have some folks to talk about this, including one of the most impressive players in the world, as he likes to point out, 7-time captain of the German national side, Michael Ballack, and Ruud van Nistelrooy, 2006 World Cup goal scorer, great goal scorer for the Dutch national team, Real Madrid, Manchester United, among others, and still so very popular and so very well known, able to visit with the Dutch team, that he will become part of the coaching staff as we go forward after this World Cup going forward. But this Dutch great got a chance to visit with them during training in Rio yesterday. The Netherlands and the SPI, that's the Soccer Power Index that you follow on ESPNFC.com. You see the Dutch are 10th, Spain 3rd, Chile 5. Translation, this group is loaded And I was out this morning for a little run here along the Avenida Atlantico and got a chance to see some of the Socceroos, the fans from Australia. They're just happy to be here, and that might be the case for their squad as well, as we are joined by Ruud and by Michael and by Roberto Martinez. So, Roberto, I want to start with you in Spain. Given their class, Euros, World Cup, Euros, now going for the World Cup, what kind of pressure does that put on them?
No pressure whatsoever. This group is unique. This generation, they thrive on pressure. They thrive on new aims. The new aim now is to be the first European team to come to South America and win in the World Cup. But it's an intriguing team because we all know the philosophy. We know that they are a possession-based team, but they always surprise us how they score goals. We saw Fernando Torres in 2006, then we saw Villa in 2010 in the World Cup in South Africa. Then we saw the false number 9 in Poland, and I do expect there's going to be something different with Diego Costa in this one, so expect something different from Spain.
And before we ask Ruud to get specifically into the Dutch team, what about that first matchup, Michael, having Spain and the Netherlands go right at it right away, a reprisal of the final in Johannesburg 4 years ago?
It will be interesting to see how the Dutch have a revanche or not. I mean, like Roberto said, Spain it's one of the absolute favorites here in this tournament, and an opening game to repeat an opening game like 4 years ago, it's a special situation, but also it's a group of death as well. And if you know you have Chile in the back, you know, and you start like playing against a Dutch team, which is also one of the favorites in my eyes, it's really unique, like you said, and will be really interesting how they start.
Ruud, seeing the Dutch firsthand, what's your feeling about the way they're preparing?
Well, when I was there, I saw them sharp. I saw them motivated and fearless. I spoke to them, and they were really good, you know, with each other. They had a very good training session, really sharp. There was absolutely no thinking of losing to Spain. They were going out and perform. That really impressed me.
You know, Clockwork Orange, total football. We know what the pedigree is, 3 times to the final, never winning the World Cup. But it was disappointing as we watched the final last year. That wasn't the Dutch football that we have seen over the years. What type of football do you think we'll see from them this year?
Well, there were some incidents in that final, and I think you won't see them anymore in this tournament. I think what it's about for Holland, that's how we raise our kids, you know, playing is having the ball and play a tactical game. You will see that from the Dutch this tournament.
Who doesn't get out of this group if you have these 3 very good quality sides?
Well, it's fascinating because you got Chile. Chile, if you love football, you love Chile because they play roulette football. There's no draws, there is no thinking about the opposition. They just go and they press you high up. They go one big one all over the place, and they can beat anyone and they'll lose against anyone because that's the way they are. So them playing against Australia in the first game, they could easily go with 3 points in the bag with nothing to lose, and they could be very, very dangerous.
So everybody has to get those 3 points, and goal differential could matter. So Australia could have a long World Cup.
Well, no expectations, Mike.
Right.
Wow.
It could be a long 3 games, though.
No, really. No. When you're a player and you come in and you can enjoy the World Cup, I think Australia now, they change a little bit. They got Tim Cahill up front, but everything else is quite young, energetic, is a process. So I think the experience of this World Cup is going to be really helpful for them. Well, but it's interesting yesterday, Mike, we were seeing with Ruud, this Holland team, and they came up with some tactical adjustments to try not to be a defensive team that they were in 2010. And what Van Gaal has done is going to play with a back 3, which is a very interesting system. And that will allow them to give the normal freedom and be what they are. I don't know how you saw it yesterday, Ruud, but the forward players look fantastic.
Yeah, we saw some finishing in action and the triangle, you know, Robben, Van Persie and Sneijder in behind, they need to make the difference for Holland. That was totally clear in that training session yesterday. The rest is there to feed them, and they will have to do it, and that was clear.
We can't wait to have your insights on the Dutch, and we'll get more of your insights later, including on the German team. I'm sure you have a thought or two you could share with us on Germany. It's going to be great to have Michael and Ruud with us. Yeah, I'm sure. And he'll also share some topics about his career as well, as you like to do. Michael, Ruud, great to have you with us. We'll continue introducing you to our cast here at the World Cup throughout. Now, for the American side, Lindsay, they have a travel agent that they need to be in close contact with. It is going to be a busy stretch for the U.S.
Yeah, they need to be paying him well. They really do, because the U.S. team travelling further than any other in this World Cup, 8,900 miles, as if there aren't enough problems in the group of death. Alexi, just talk us through the itinerary and the journey these guys are going to go on.
Wait, why are you talking? I'm traveling with the team. Why are you talking about it?
This is more of a problem for you.
Yeah, what are you talking
You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. All right, so Jurgen Klinsmann and the U.S. team has decided to base out of Sao Paulo down here. So they're going to go up here. Here we go to Natal, maybe get a result, and they're going to come all the way back to Sao Paulo. And then they're going to come back and go, ooh, where's Manaus? Where's Manaus? Where's, oh, there it is, way up there. They're going to go here. And they're going to come all the way back. And then they are going to go to Recife right there and come all the way back. That is a lot of travel. Now, they're going to do it in style. And Taylor, as we know, being involved in MLS, it's kind of part and parcel for MLS players.
Well, it is, and I think when Jurgen looked at his 23-man roster, you talk about guys like Kyle Beckerman, Chris Wondolowski, Brad Davis. You're looking of the 23 players, guys, 15 of those have played at least 2 years in MLS. And anyone that's played in Major League Soccer will tell you this. You've been stuck in Denver for 4 or 5 hours due to a snowstorm. You have to fly to Houston, Dallas, and play in 95-degree weather. If there's one team that is going to have to deal with all the travel problems, I don't think it's even on the players' minds. I don't even think they're even thinking about it, because if there's a delay, fine, so be it. They've done it many more times than Major League Soccer.
Yeah, I think if this U.S. team struggles at this World Cup, it's not going to be because of travel, not going to be because of temperature, it's not going to be because of fitness. It's going to be because of soccer.
Is it bad planning, though? Should they have waited until after the draw to decide?
I think that U.S. Soccer and Jurgen Klinsmann liked the situation in Sao Paulo, and that's important to have a base of operations that you're comfortable with, that you understand what is there. There's distances, and they're going to figure it out.
I agree with that. And you look at the research, and that's in the top 3 best places to have as your home base for any country that's here at the World Cup. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
That's more important. Well, thanks for now, guys. There's lots more to come on our World Cup preview. There are fan zones across this huge country getting ready for the World Cup tomorrow, including one in Rio. Those zones, of course, becoming popular at the World Cup in 2002 in Japan and South Korea, and now an integral part of this World Cup, where fans will be gathering to watch Neymar, the poster boy of the World Cup, just 22 years old, and a man carrying the weight of a nation on his shoulders.
Hidden in the back of a working-class cigar shop, a woman in a yellow blouse rules her tiny kingdom with benevolence. Coffee cost about 40 cents. The old men up front will sell you a red poker chip, along with cigars and all sorts of pieces of faded masculinity. Slap the chip down on the bar and the woman burst into action, snatching it, pouring the inky strong Brazilian coffee into a small cup. A cafezinho, they call it. Customers lean up against the bar in 2s and 3s, enjoying this brief moment of quiet before stepping back into the madness of the day.
Quite a massive and quite a complex country, too. You have the very simple life and the exotic life only a few miles away. This, of course, Copacabana Beach, Rio de Janeiro, Ipanema around the corner there. We will be sharing the stories of Brazil with Wright Thompson, our great essayist, as well as some beautiful pictures as well. Let's get to Group C, and this was one of the big stories for Colombia as Falcao injured that knee, and the question was, would he be able to come back from that knee injury? And there were conversations and prayers from the Colombian faithful in hopes, but unfortunately that was not the case. So one of the big names of the big stars not as part of Group C, but the Colombian team in training without him and returning to the World Cup after making it 3 times in a row, 90, 94, and 98. Absent since. Finally, they return their 5th opportunity to play in the World Cup in a Group C with Greece, the Ivory Coast, or Cote d'Ivoire, if you will, and Japan. Those are the 4 teams that we'll see 2 come out of for the knockout phase. Background on them with their soccer performance index ranking: Colombia at 7, Ivory Coast at 17. Then Greece, 25th. Very often the story with Greece is, will they score? But also, will you score against them? And their results in a tight group might be interesting. There's Japan, continually appearing here in the World Cup. What will be their breakthrough? We're joined on our set. Michael Ballack stays with us. Taylor Twellman's also here. And Gilberto Silva, who was part of the Brazilian winning side in 2002 in the World Cup, has played in 3 World Cups. I should say you're our host because you're going to show us around Brazil the right way this month, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
It's great to have you with
I
us.
think you have a lot of fun here all around, you know.
Yeah, but you haven't invited me to dinner yet. What do you mean?
Yeah, but I never see you around. I never see you around. What's happening to you?
We will have plenty of time. It's great to have you with us, Gilberto.
Thank you very much.
But let's talk about that group because, Michael, as we were looking at that group and talking about it earlier today, you came up with an interesting word, odd. It's an odd group. Why?
Yeah, it looks even. It looks odd, you know, except from Colombia, I can't see anyone in this group going far in this tournament, to be honest. Colombia, it's one of the favorites. They should be able to handle the first place easily. It's not always easy in a World Cup, but like I said, Greece, Japan, and Ivory Coast, for me, it's one of the weaker groups in this tournament, so I think Colombia goes through and the other fight for the second place.
I think Michael brings up a good point, though, Mike, because when you really look at it, we talk about the group of deaths all the time. I look at this as actually the group of life because all 4 teams have a shot of going through. When you really look at it, Greece will be Greece. They'll defend. They'll make life miserable. Japan will buzz around. They'll be creative in the midfield. And then I think the X factor is Ivory Coast. What do you get out of them? Does Yaya Toure become that creative player that he can be, you know, at the club level? But all 4 countries have a shot at getting out of this group.
They mentioned Ivory Coast, and Gilberto, you talk of players who we're familiar with, players who we have seen before, and favorites often in the African Nations Cup,
exactly.
But have they accomplished as much in the World Cup as perhaps their pedigree or their expectations coming in?
This is as a point for them to prove. Because for me, it's a fantastic generation they've made until now. They have won important things through the last few years, but they have to prove something in the World Cup and also leave the legacy for the future of Ivory Coast and for the young ones who sees them as their big heroes. Let's see, I really want to see them do something better from what they did last time.
Gilberto, I have a question for you, though. Is it too late for Didier Drogba to be relied upon for 90 minutes at 3 games at this stage of his career?
Never too late when you focus on what we want to do.
Yeah.
I think from his pedigree, he knows how to do his job.
Of course.
And also the other guys who help him to sort this out.
Absolutely, it's a good question because it's the main player. It's their player and their team. It's like comparable a little bit to role with Klose, you know, for Germany. He's 35 too.
It's a great point.
And these kind of players, are they still able to play their role, their main role for their country, or just they come in from time to time?
Right.
But what you said as well is a good point, you know, because the other players, they're looking up to them, you know, because they already lead the team for more or less for the last 10 years.
Some very familiar names and some players. We've mentioned Honda from Japan as well.
Yes,
so there are a lot of players in a group where the matches will be very tight. This could be, if not one of the strongest groups, one of the most interesting groups in terms of results. That's Group C, of course, paired as we go forward with Group D. And Lindsay's got the guys, including one over there, Lindsay, who I know is very fond of Colombia's hopes in Group C that we just discussed.
Certainly, yeah. We'll speak about that in just a moment, Roberto. But there are concerns as we head into Group D, especially for England in Italy. Their opener on Saturday, and that's because of the condition of the pitch in Manaus. It's looking very dry, very bare, lots of yellow patches on the pitch, not in a great condition at all. Alexi, just how much of a concern is that as we head into Group D?
It's a big concern. I mean, look, the stuff that surrounds everything, all right, if you mess that up, whatever, but don't mess up the field. I mean, that's the canvas for the artist. And you can have an easel that's not great, but you got to have a good canvas because ultimately we're just going to watch the games. All this stuff, the periphery stuff, is going to go away, and the games are what is going to be watched and what is left. So get the grass right, and they don't have very much time right now.
Roberto, a member of the FA, is off to inspect that pitch tomorrow. How worried will Roy Hodgson be, bearing in mind how England are hoping to play in this World Cup?
Well, I think they'll be very worried, and it's quite rare because I think English football in the past, they were quite happy with slow pitches and pitches that they are not as sharp as others. I think now, playing against Italy, England's got a very good group of young players, and they need a dynamic game. They need the ball to be moving around against the experience of the Italians. So it will be a concern, but sometimes, if I must say, those pictures look worse than they actually is. They are brand new pictures. Sometimes they see that, sometimes they put sand, and when they cut it and they get 48 hours before the game, it'll be a lot better, and I hope that that's the case.
I hope so. It looks World Cup unworthy. I mean, you have enough time to prepare a field, a pitch, what's World Cup worthy. I mean, why even play in the Amazon? That's another discussion. Yeah. Why build a stadium there? That's another discussion. But anyway, it's there now, they're not ready. And it would be a shame for the World Cup if England, Italy was going to be played on a very bad pitch.
Such a competitive group as well. First time ever we've had 3 former winners in a World Cup group. What about Uruguay's chances? How much of that is hinging on Luis Suarez? We still don't know the status of his fitness.
I mean, look, this team is not all Luis Suarez. This isn't a Cristiano Ronaldo type of situation, but you're looking at this guy right here who has been absolutely phenomenal in terms of scoring goals. And it's not just the goals, it's what he brings to the team when he steps on the field. If you're a defender on Uruguay, you say, you know what? I know that we're already up 1-0. Because I know that he's going to find that moment to score that goal. And when you don't have that, that can be problematic.
Roberto, you watched England train earlier today. How are they looking?
Very impressed because Roy Hodgson has created a very, very healthy environment. Everyone is so positive. And as I mentioned, they have got good experience, don't get me wrong. I think Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Phil Jagielka, but they've got this unknown quality that is the youth. You see Daniel Sturridge, Raheem Sterling, Ross Barkley, and Wayne Rooney. I've seen the best Wayne Rooney in the last 10, 11 months. Maybe it's been, as you know, Ruud, a season at Manchester United can be really demanding. And this season, Manchester United, they were out in the FA Cup in the third round. They were out in the League Cup. In Europe, they didn't do too much. In the league, it didn't become a strong league for them. And maybe Wayne Rooney is the perfect season to go into a World Cup.
Yeah, he will be motivated to put something right of the season. Exactly, they got 7th in the end, so he's definitely motivated to make a difference for England. But I hope that England goes out to enjoy themselves, to go and try to score goals. I've seen them 4 years ago and 2 years ago as well in the big tournaments, and they were awful. They didn't create a chance. They were just sitting back. I just hope with the quality Roberto mentioned, the quality of young, talented players who can take on players as well and score goals. I hope they're going to play.
And the expectations are lower too, right, Ruud? I mean, nobody's expecting a lot from this England team right now. Look, there's nothing I like more than when England goes down in flames. But I actually like this England team. I got them coming out of the group. You got them coming out of the group?
Well, it's fair to say there are 3 teams that they got the same type of chances: Uruguay, England, and obviously in Italy. And
what
the other
about
ones, the Costa Rica, are the ones that they're going to decide it. Because if you play Costa Rica in the first game of the tournament, they're sharp, they're energetic, they're going to be a nightmare, they're flexible, they play in different systems. If you play them at the end of the group, which England do, is a real advantage. So,
you got them coming out of the group?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, and the good news is that Wayne Rooney has said as well that he is going to enjoy this World Cup. He admitted he didn't enjoy the previous 2, but he's encouraging all the young players and said he will be going out there and will be looking to enjoy it. So we hope that is true. OK, lots still to come on our World Cup preview here on ESPN, including a man not with us in Brazil, unfortunately, but part of our team on ESPN. And we'll be speaking exclusively to Landon Donovan after the break.
Welcome back to the 2014 FIFA World Cup Preview Show. ESPN's coverage is presented by T-Mobile.
High tide along Copacabana Beach, Rio de Janeiro. One day before this World Cup, you can feel the anticipation building. This is the second World Cup that Brazil have ever hosted. Soccer is not a sport normally given to numbers and statistics, but this is an important number. Counting the 1950 World Cup and all the World Cup qualification matches the Brazil national team have ever played here at home, 52 games, and all those 52 games simply one loss. But that one loss was 64 years ago, about 9 miles in that direction at Maracanã. That one loss that still scars the national psyche.
Spontaneity, gingado, is a way of life in Brazil. Be it soccer, dance, street art, free form is the common theme. In this vast, diverse, luscious country, anything seems possible. Yet even here, there's a day that the music died. It's the story every Brazilian knows by heart, the story of the 1950 World Cup. For the first time, the world was coming to us.
Futebol seria, afinal de contas, o atestado final. Construiu-se um grande estádio, grande obra do brasileiro, e dentro dele nós íamos ter a nossa maior festa.
Above all else, everyone knew it was Brazil's time to win its first World Cup. The 1950 team was full of stars, including legends like Ademir, Jair, and Zizinho. The Maracanã was built for the Cup, the largest stadium in the world. In the unique playoff format of the 1950 tournament, everything came down to the last game. We played Uruguay and just needed a tie to win the Cup. Rio was going crazy. Everybody wanted to witness the moment.
Quando eu entrei, eu vislumbrei aquele Maracanã todo cheio. Era magnífico. O máximo. Era o máximo.
Cerca de 200.000 pessoas dentro do Maracanã. O povo feliz cantando, o Brasil inteiro cantando. E eu estava sentado numa cadeira com minha mãe, meu irmão e minha irmã. Uma cadeira só para os quatro.
In the second half, Brazil took the lead. The cup was ours. Even when Uruguay tied the game, the cup was still ours. But then, the unthinkable happened. Our goalkeeper Barbosa reacted late to a shot, and Uruguay scored again. A giant party became the great silence. No one in Brazil thought the seleção, the national team, could lose. But they did.
Quando Barbosa não segurou a bola, foi uma tristeza total. Eu olhava todo mundo perplexo, olhando para ver como ia resolver. Não tinha mais chance de bola, o jogo.
On July 16th, 1950, more than 200,000 Brazilians sat in the Maracanã. Every last one engulfed by sorrow.
Todo mundo passou a chorar. Era uma choradeira, parecia um enterro. Ninguém falava. Na rua, aquele povo saindo do mesmo jeito. Era realmente como se estivesse acompanhando um féretro.
1950 means a defeat of the country, kind of losing a war. When this collapsed, it was kind of the Brazilian hope that collapsed.
Instead of becoming national heroes, the players became pariahs.
Quando encontrava uma pessoa que tinha visto o jogo, pô, mas como é que foi aquilo? Lembrava ele sempre daquela derrota na sua carreira.
The defeat was a red-hot emblem of agony branded deep into our national psyche. It still lingers. In the National Soccer Museum in São Paulo, the memory is encased in its own crypt, a place where every Brazilian can still experience the pain. The game was dubbed the Maracanazo, the Maracanã blow. Yet, from our national tragedy came a silver lining. It inspired a little boy to be the world's greatest player.
Your father always tell you, listen, you cannot cry, because men don't cry. Then I don't know what to say because I saw my father cry. Then I say, don't cry, father. I'm gonna win one World Cup for you.
8 years later, Pelé led Brazil to the first of a record 5 World Cups. And now, for the first time since 1950, we welcome the world again. This time, we want our 6th World Cup to be the first one on home soil. And at last, put to rest our heaviest defeat, our worst day.
Most current Brazilians certainly were not even born in 1950, but each one at the knee of their father, their mother, their uncle, have learned the story of the Maracanazo. You saw the street art in that picture, and the artist gracing our report on 1950, standing by right now with our Julie Foudy. Jules.
And that is right. Everywhere I have been this week, Bob, street art on the walls, on the streets. They love to express it and tell their stories. And so we're going to tell our own story here right under the set of ESPN. Our local, incredibly talented artist, Jean Berro, is going to paint the daily image, the iconic figure, maybe a moment that happened in the World Cup. And if we've done our math correctly, Jean Berro is going to paint 6 feet every day going down this 180-foot wall. After 30 days, again, if we've done the math, we will end this wall right on the Copacabana beach at the Avenida Atlantica, the main avenue that passes through the Copacabana. And so it's our way, and Jean Berro's way, of sharing the story of 1 month here at the World Cup and the adventure that is Brazil. From the looks of it, I think he's starting with one of the most iconic figures here in Brazil, of course, the Maracanã Stadium. And for more beauty and adventures here in Rio, stay with us. We'll return after the break.
All right, just past the top of the hour, we're live with you in Rio de Janeiro. 5 o'clock here. It's 1 hour ahead of Eastern time in the United States. You saw Sugarloaf setting that backdrop, Copacabana Beach, the 2.5-mile awesome strand of sand that will be our home for this World Cup. The United States about 4 or 5 hours away in Sao Paulo to the west. Training today, they were supposed to have a closed-door match that nobody would get to see against Belgium tomorrow, but that has been canceled in part because of the traffic concerns. Mark Wilmots, the coach for Belgium, said he was going to contact Jurgen Klinsmann about that, but certainly that's part of the plan that Jurgen Klinsmann had in place to prepare Team USA. That will not take place. Well, as we mentioned earlier, one of the big stories in the run-up to the U.S. World Cup trip here to Brazil, Landon Donovan not being included in the team, as popular a soccer player as we've had on the men's side in U.S. history. And Landon joins our team here on ESPN. He'll be joining us during this couple of week MLS break from Los Angeles. Landon, first off, it's great to have you on the team. Let's start with the conversation regarding your presence on this team.
Thank
you. You know, time, I think with everything, when you have something that happens and stings you emotionally, time can really soften the emotions. I'm curious now, 3 weeks later, but on the day before the World Cup starts, how does it feel that you were left off the U.S. team now?
Well, thanks for starting easy on me, Mike.
My pleasure.
It's been an interesting 3 weeks, of course. It was difficult at first, but as time goes on, you sort of learn that decisions don't always go your way in life, and as difficult and disappointing as it was, there's a silver lining. I got to go home and be a part of an LA Galaxy game in front of my friends and family where I was able to break the goal-scoring record. I get an opportunity now to hang out with you great guys and Taylor and try to have fun and enjoy this World Cup and provide something different, a little analysis from sort of an insider perspective that I think people will really appreciate.
You're an athlete. Athletes go forward. But I'm curious, in the intervening 20 days since you got the word from Jurgen, retrospectively, as you look back at the sabbatical you took from the game at the start of the calendar year 2013, how do you think that impacted Klinsmann's decision?
It's hard to know. I mean, there's probably only one person who knows the answer to that. You know, you have to do what's right for you, but I can control what I can control, and that's what I've tried to do. And again, it was not easy, but I'm not the first person that's had a decision go against them, and I certainly won't be the last. And now, as I said when I spoke about it initially, I want to be behind the team. I want to support everybody. I certainly wanted to be there in person, but this is another way to support the team and through analyzing and helping out. And I've dedicated most of my life to helping grow the sport in this country. And this is just another way I get to do it. So I'm excited to be here.
And I'm going to ask you about USA on the field here in a second. One last point. You know, this was it for you. This was in all likelihood going to be your last World Cup, and you were pointing towards that emotionally and physically. Watching you play those games with the Galaxy, we've seen you score and set that MLS scoring record. How hard is it to just really sit back and when the U.S. takes the field on Monday against Ghana, you're not going to be the guy in the number 10?
I don't really know what to expect. You know, it's going to be interesting for sure. You know, I've been a part of that team for so many years and for so long, and anytime I watch a soccer game when I can't be a part of it, it makes me emotional. It makes you want to be there. I'm sure Taylor or Alexi can attest to that. And it's not easy, but at the same time, I have a lot of great teammates on that team. I have a lot of friends on that team. I sit next to Omar Gonzalez every day in LA in the locker. So I have a lot of contact with the guys still. I'm very excited for them. And once I've been able to kind of get past the disappointment, now I'm genuinely excited as a soccer fan, just like everyone else is. I think all of our fans are excited to watch the tournament, and let's hope for great things. I think there's a chance that this could be a really special summer.
All right, let's put your analyst hat on, and we'll ask you a big boy question right away in that regard, too. You heard our conversation an hour ago. I asked Alexi, Jurgen Klinsmann reiterating again today what he said to the New York Times in December, what was in the Times Magazine this weekend. He said the U.S. is not ready at this point to win this World Cup. As a player who has sat in Jurgen Klinsmann's locker room, what's your reaction to that?
Well, this will come as a surprise to nobody, but I don't agree with Jurgen. And as someone who's been in that locker room and has sat next to the players, and I agree with Alexi, we agree with the American Outlaws. We believe that we will win. And I think that's the way Americans think. I think that's the sentiment. And one point I'd like to make is that if we're really expecting to go out and beat Portugal and beat Ghana and beat Germany, in my opinion, Germany is one of the best teams in the world. If you can beat Germany, why can't you beat anybody else? And so it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I believe it, and I think all of America believes it. We can do it.
I want to ask you about some of the guys in that room, Dempsey, Bradley, Howard. We always talk about a strong spine to a team. Their spine in terms of leadership has to be huge because 18 of the 23 players for Team USA have not played in a World Cup match. You know those guys. How strong is their leadership with the rest of the relative neophytes to the World Cup stage?
Well, Tim has always been a leader for us. Michael Bradley has really grown into a leader, and I think the way Clint has sort of transformed over the last couple of years has been really fun to see. I've seen him take a little bit more of a leadership role, not in a rah-rah way, but helping everybody, putting his arm around guys, talking to guys. He seems like he's more apt for that. So it's a little bit difficult with only, I think, 5 or 6 guys who have been to a World Cup when you juxtapose that with Spain, who I think have 17 returning players from 2010. So it's a little bit different, but I think those guys have a really good pulse on the team. Everybody respects them, and I think you're really going to see Michael Bradley emerge this year as sort of that third leader on the team, and I think they'll carry the team very well.
Well, Alexi said you passed the audition. You got the job, so we'll see you throughout the World Cup. Thanks for joining us. Great to have you on our team, Landon. Thanks, Landon.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Landon Donovan joining us in Los Angeles. The final squad, the 32nd and final squad, has made it to Brazil. That is Portugal. Of course, they had the final friendly back stateside, making the overnight journey. So Portugal to join this tremendous Group G that we have discussed throughout and we'll discuss again. Germany, Portugal, Ghana, the U.S., dubbed the group of death by many. And you see the difficulty that's there for the U.S. to get out. Alexi and Taylor Twellman up here on the set. Michael Ballack will join us as well. Knows a thing or two as the 7-year consecutive captain of the German side.
Oh, we've heard this 10 times already.
Don't make the mistake.
We've heard this 10 times. He's made me watch a highlight film.
And I've heard it 20. But let's start with this. You guys have known Landon for most of your adult lives. What do you think of what he had to say?
I thought it was interesting in the way that he reacted to Jurgen Klinsmann. As you mentioned, maybe that time would have been a cushion. I still think he's hurting.
There's no doubt about that.
I still think that he is irritated, and I still think he doesn't agree, but that's part of what's made him a great player, is that ego and that arrogance. And I look at arrogance as a quality in a player, and all great players have that, to say, yeah, I deserve to be there. And I think it will hurt him to watch it, not just working with Taylor, but to watch the World Cup.
Surprising that are fond of arrogance. But when you look at Landon Donovan, he's handled this situation with class, which is the way he's handled his entire career. And I hope at some point when it's with us, we sit down, no matter how the United States do, he gives us a perspective of what really went on, because that is a very interesting relationship that really only two players know. But Michael, I want to ask you, because in 2006 at the World Cup, Jurgen Klinsmann sat Oliver Kahn. That was a big decision. What was the locker room like in Germany? You were named captain too, by the way, weren't you?
A little bit earlier.
Okay, so you were for the decision?
What a decision, I thought. Because I became captain, you know, for 2 years earlier. No, but this was a big surprise, you know, for everyone. And Oliver Captain is not just a player. And these kind of players are, like I said before, they are leaders, you know, and your teammates looking up to you. And you play, you're not a normal team member. And that's a risk what he takes, the coach, you know, to do this. He provocates a situation as well. He can do it in a positive way or in a negative way. So what's happened now, we will see with the American team, if they pull together, you know, and they're going forward, and or it's still a theme in the dressing room they're talking about. Maybe they don't win the first game, you know, and discussion starts again. So that's a good point. It's a way how it can work. Hopefully not, but yeah, 2006. We had a great replacement as well in Jens Lehmann.
Yes.
He played a great World Cup too. So it could be going that way or this way. Yeah?
Michael, I need one quick one here on Germany. We'll have a lot of time to talk about this group as we get closer to the U.S. match on Monday. Give me a snapshot, just brief thoughts on where the German team is heading into this World Cup.
A little bit doubtful, because we still have a great squad, you know, a lot of young talent players. Offensively, we are one of the best teams in the tournament, I think, so far. But also we have a few injured players for over the last 6 weeks. Key players, you know, like Manuel Neuer didn't play any game the last 4 weeks. A shoulder injury. Also Philipp Lahm, Bastian Schweinsteiger. Just Khedira came back from a big injury. So there are a few doubts, and especially these key players, you know, it's always important that they are involved in the pre-season. So we don't know 100% where we are, but still we have a lot of experience in this team and a lot of class.
We will have plenty of time to discuss that. And
I'm sweating,
Portugal
man.
and Ronaldo.
It is hot here. I'm ready to go. I feel like broadcast news right now.
Your
man.
face just fell off.
There are lines from the movie I could quote, but I'd like to keep my job.
We keep passing tissues back and forth.
We'll go to the next group quickly. Lindsay, I'll let you save us.
Yeah, it's getting hot over here as well, and we are about to talk from a group of death to a group of life. Group H containing Belgium, a team packed with big-name stars. Kevin De Bruyne in there, Eden Hazard, the PFA Young Player of the Year. You've got Thibaut Courtois in goal, Vincent Kompany as well, Manchester City's captain. It really is a team oozing class. Marouane Fellaini there, a player not had the best season for Manchester United at his new club, but without doubt one of the highlights of the tournament is to see how well these players can combine as a team. Many people tipping them to do very well, and it is a good group for Belgium there, with Algeria, Russia and South Korea as well. And Roberto, a great group, as I said, for Belgium. How highly do you rate them?
Well, it's a fascinating squad. In my eyes, if you were going to assess every individual, I would say that Belgium are the best squad in the tournament. That doesn't mean that they are the best team, because they haven't had bad experiences yet. Everything has been nice and positive. But you look, they could get 3 injuries in the starting lineup and have 3 replacements, and they will be as good. They lose Christian Benteke, Romelu Lukaku comes in. The amount of opportunities and different options that this team has is incredible. Now, they need the experience, they need to play games, and they got 3 teams to play against now that they are not South American opposition, which is a great plus, and they can experiment. But obviously they're going to face Russia, which Fabio Capello is a very good coach in that respect, and it's going to be fascinating how they're going to start. I don't know how you see.
With lots of experience, Capello in World Cups as well, and it's going to be interesting how these 2 teams that we all assume that Belgium and Russia are the best in this group, are going to face each other with 2 different styles. Belgium attacking with young, talented players, and Russia that is going to be like an Italian Russia, with Capello thinking first about defending and then about attacking. I assume
fit Russia. The 3-month winter break and the season there ending half of May, all the players play in Russia. Capello, knowing him with his staff, he will get the players so fit. It will be the fittest team in the tournament. And playing from that formation, what he will create with them, you know, you can't underestimate him.
Do you think that that's on purpose what Capello did, creating this team with only players who play in the Russian league?
Yeah. There is a big question mark about, always Fabio Capello said that he didn't see the Russian player believing that they can win a big tournament or win an important game, and probably that's trying to create a group, trying to create a belief within the group, and obviously having players, local players, will help towards it. But obviously, you're looking playing against Algeria are coming to enjoy the World Cup. South Korea, they are fascinating to see how they get in adapting with a possession football. So look out for Belgium.
Yeah, very interesting. I think with a World Cup, world-class goalkeeper and a very, very good striker, any team will do well. And I think the rest, what fills out Belgium as well, is players who play at the highest division in their primes. It's an excellent team.
They'll try to emulate what they did in the 86 with Puff and then Chifo. And now they have Courtois, and they have Fellaini and Hazard, but they have a good goalkeeper and they have a creative midfielders. They can do very well.
And they're hungry. They're hungry. They haven't done anything in World Cup since years, so they'll be dying to achieve.
We will be keeping a very close eye on Belgium. It is an intriguing group. Lots more to come from us here at our host sets on Copacabana Beach. Our artist outside, Jambero, starting to tell the story of this World Cup, painting images across our wall outside. And as you can see, starting with the iconic Maracanã.
The decision at keeper for Mexico had been up in the air, but a late call in the last several days by Miguel Herrera. Guillermo Ochoa gets the nod over Jesus Corona for Friday's match with Cameroon. John Sutcliffe covering El-Tri and covering them very closely. John?
Bob, no question, Miguel Herrera has been handed a hot potato, but any Mexican coach would love to have the opportunity to sit on the bench of a World Cup. He hasn't really had time to work with his players, so he's decided on a starting lineup against Cameroon full of experience and players who have or play in Europe. The starting goalkeeper is going to be Guillermo Ochoa, who plays in France, Rafa Marquez, who's won it all. They have a lot of confidence on center back Francisco Rodriguez. He's had to reshuffle the whole midfield with injuries of Juan Carlos Medina and Luis Montes. We're going to see J.J. Vasquez. Andres Guardado, that 2 months ago, he didn't even know if he was going to be in the final roster. Hector Herrera, who they think he's the best player on this Mexican team. Up front, they've been trying to figure out who's the perfect partner in crime next to Uribe de Broch Peralta, Giovanni Dos Santos. Them two had a great run in the Olympic gold medal in London. And finally, I asked Miguel Herrera, you've decided to bench Chicharito Hernandez. Why? He told me he's had a tough year. There's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and I just think coming off the bench, he might give us that spark we need. Finally, I talked to some of the players today, and they know that if they want to get to the second round of this World Cup, they have to have a great start on Friday in Natal. Back to you.
John, gracias as always. Cameroon is the opener for Mexico from Natal. Then 4 delays at the dateline. Brazil, and they've talked bravely of taking points off the Seleção, and then Croatia, the final group match. And out of Brazil's group, anything can happen as we continue with Casey Keller, Alexi Lalas, and Jorge Ramos from ESPN Deportes now joins us. Jorge, of what you heard of the starting lineup and all the questions that swirl, the late choice at keeper, the question of benching Chicharito, what's the biggest question mark for you for El-Tri right now?
Mexico, the team. They spent too much time talking about who the goalkeeper was going to be. It seems that it's going to be Ochoa, and Casey can say, Ochoa, Corona, there is not much of a difference, very similar. But they don't have a team. They are trying to put a team together. They waste 3 years. So what Miguel Herrera is trying to do is in 5 months, trying to put a team together. A team that didn't have enough time to practice and repeat. So at certain point, it should be a price to be paid. And I think that's what is going to happen now in World Cup. Mexico is not a team yet. They have...
It's a heck of a time to learn to be a team. Yeah, I mean, because when Herrera needed to qualify, he just bring my Club America boys in, and that's how I'm going to get to the playoff.
Yeah, he was efficient in the way that he did that. Now, whether it, to your point, if it works out in the biggest stage, sometimes the soccer gods are like that. You know, you have a horrible 2013, but nobody cares what happens in 2013. They care what happens in 2014. I actually see Mexico getting out of the group, but it is amazing in the context of what Mexico has gone through, especially how we view Mexico over the last 3 years. From that gap that everybody talked about, oh, it's a gap, we're never going to catch Mexico, to the U.S. just sitting pretty on the top and saying Mexico isn't even close to us. And now they come back, they're feeling it a little bit. 2014 will go a long way in saying where Mexico is, especially in comparison to the U.S.
But what was Mexico's biggest problem in qualifying? Their biggest problem was putting the ball in the back of the net. How many 0-0 draws at Azteca, which was such a fortress? If they can't score in Azteca, how are they going to score here in Brazil? And then you leave your biggest star, Chicharito, big question mark. Is he going to come off the bench? Is he not going to come off? I mean, he's going to have to factor hugely for Mexico to be successful.
I have to accept that Miguel Herrera is the one that is working with him. I still believe Chicharito should be there with Oribe Peralta.
Better than Giovanni Dos Santos?
Well, Gio Dos Santos is not a forward. I think is an offensive midfielder, and you are going to see him coming back because by nature, he's going to come down, okay, and trying to bring the ball up front, okay? And besides that, the other day against Portugal, in the last 20 minutes that Chicharito played better than Oribe Peralta in the rest of the game.
But maybe that's the injection that Mexico needs. Maybe Miguel Herrera says, okay, yeah. Maybe that's what Chicharito is now, the ultimate super sub. He's been doing it, obviously, in Manchester United. Now he comes on for Mexico.
Testing year for Chicharito, certainly with Manchester United. By the way, guys, check your timepieces. Less than 24 hours now. I know you want to get to bed and have tomorrow come early. Less than 24 hours to kick off for this World Cup. We have seen the great street art, John Viero. Coming up, the music of Roger. You will enjoy this visit with this artist whose sounds will enchant you. The final days of autumn in the Southern Hemisphere and a live performance coming up.
And young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema was walking, and when she passes each one, she passes goes wild. When she walks, she's like a samba that swings so cool and sways so gentle that when she passes each one, she passes goes wild. Oh, but I watch her so sadly.
Welcome back to the 2014 FIFA World Cup Preview Show. ESPN's coverage is presented by T-Mobile.
Well, part of the joy of a global sports competition is the chance to experience not just the competition, but the place. And there's so much to learn and experience and share about Brazil. And for more on that, back to U.S. National Soccer Hall of Famer, Julie Fountain. Jules?
Mike Tirico, how can you beat this? Sun, sand, and samba. That's a trifecta that you just can't beat. And we're going to take you throughout this World Cup on a month-long cultural exploration using music as our medium because it is everywhere in Brazil, and a local musician, an up-and-coming one, Roger, who you just heard. He's going to be our guide. So for a month-long journey, we're going to start first with a song called The Girl from Ipanema. You may remember it, a worldwide hit in 1960, and it really opened the world's eyes to the seduction that is Brazil.
Everybody knows that this song. Garota de Ipanema changed the Brazilian music.
Olha que coisa mais linda, mais cheia de graça. Ela, menina que vem que passa, num doce balanço, caminho do mar.
So this is Ipanema, and right up the street is the bar where Antonio Carlos Jobim and Vinicius de Moraes were inspired to write the song, The Girl from Ipanema.
Here in the 60s, we have Ipanema is only houses. Bossa Nova is the picture from that time.
A beleza que existe
So this is where the tall and tan and young and lovely girl used to walk by every day, and she changed everything, and that went on to be the second most recorded song in the world.
Girl from Ipanema, like you.
Like that one.
Oh, like that.
And tan, young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking, and when she passes, each one she passes goes.
So this is the actual composition. Can you sing it?
I will give my heart gladly, but each day she walks to the sea, she looks through the headlight. All my life I stay here and watch the ocean and play guitar in this rock and watch Ipanema and thinking my life.
And I'm here alongside singer-songwriter Roger, who lives 5 minutes from here.
Yeah.
And Roger, when you walk around Brazil, it seems music is just pulsating throughout the country. What is it about the culture here that makes it such a part of their soul?
Yes, music, our richness, music and soccer too, but we can feel the music in everywhere. If you go to other cities, if you go to Bahia, you can listen to different kind of songs, more happy, axé. If you go to the south, it's different. But if you go to the north, it's like a baião. But every people in Brazil loves music and loves to dance with. I think our culture comes from the Africa, the mix with Africans. We still have in the songs and the music and everywhere.
So much movement. There was a protest right outside here a couple days ago, and they were dancing and singing during the protest.
Yeah. It becomes a party after. Crazy.
I know you are also a big World Cup fan and a player yourself, but having, of course, not been born when the 1950 World Cup was hosted here in Brazil, this is your first World Cup in your city, in your home. How excited are the people in Brazil?
I'm really proud because I love soccer. So I don't know if the people still understand. Very, very, very important for us to receive all. But for me, it's very beautiful to see that time, to see the Rio de Janeiro and Brazil in that time receive the World Cup. It will be very nice. When the balls.
When it starts rolling, right?
Oh, everything is going to be fine.
It's going to be fine. Well, and we will, of course, spend the next month showcasing the beauty of Brazil through the music of Roger.
Thank you,
and we will
Jenny.
also, I think this is the perfect setting, as we see the kite surfers out there, to do a long walk at sunset. As we bump out. More from Rio coming up after this.
Spain won the 2010 FIFA World Cup by beating the Netherlands. And now they meet again, this time in Game 1. Spain, Netherlands, the rematch, in the 2014 FIFA World Cup. Friday at 3 p.m. on ESPN.
That game is the most impactful first-round game where it's going to shape the tournament like no other first-round game. Lexi Taylor, Bob here at the touchscreen. Okay, here it is, the starting XI, the starting 11 for the United States in Jacksonville Saturday night. So efficient, so cool, calm, and collected against Nigeria.
Yep.
The talking point the whole evening for you guys in Jacksonville, us here in Rio. Will we see this 11 against Nigeria, against Ghana?
I think we will. And Alexi and I, Bob, have had many arguments over the last 4 or 5 months. I know you find that surprising.
Absolutely shocking.
But we've had arguments because I feel that with the inexperience at center back, Alexi, you need to play Kyle Beckerman. Obviously, we know the love affair with Jermaine Jones being in the lineup. The concern about this formation for you, Big Red, is what? Michael Bradley pushed too forward.
It's Michael Bradley in a from a starting position in an advanced position. I love Michael Bradley, and I think his world-class name comes from coming from deep lying positions.
So you want him coming from more of these positions
back there. Now,
instead of starting
you can
here.
still have this personnel and have that happen, but the problem is that as soon as Michael Bradley sees that Beckerman and Jones are hanging out and have his back, he's gone. He's off to the races. that at times can be good, but you're waiting for that one moment, and he definitely has the ability to provide those moments. But what I don't see Michael Bradley in this position is that he's not in his best position for me. He cannot run the show. He cannot be that creative number 10 that everything flows through and that he provides
But
constantly.
you say that, though. Think of the play against Turkey.
Yes.
Think of the play, the second goal for Josie Altidore. Those are special moments for Michael Bradley.
I still think he can do that starting out in a deep position, though.
My concern here is, listen, Jermaine Jones, he's the X factor. We know the most important part of this formation to me, Bob and Alexi, is number 15, Kyle Beckerman. Under no circumstances, his job is to move from this position.
Yep.
You now protect inexperienced Matt Beasler, inexperienced Jeff Cameron at center back. Here's the question, though. I do think if there's one change, it may be Graham Zusi for Alejandro Bedoya. Now, Bedoya gives you more of the two-way effect, but Graham Zusi, we saw last summer, he can be dynamic. He can be that final ball looking for Clint Dempsey, Josie Altidore, but I'd be shocked if this isn't the lineup against Ghana.
And regardless, I think that they are going to against Ghana. We're going to see another one of that situation where Jurgen Klinsmann clogs up the midfield. It makes it very difficult to play through. So whether it's Bradley back there or Beckerman back there, doesn't really matter. Ultimately, as long as those players are in the position to then spring forward.
Yeah.
We've got consensus. That back four set. Beasley, left back.
And there's a reason
Bobby
why
and
he's
Johnson.
there. Look at the left wingers
he's
they're
in
playing
form,
against,
and he has
Bob.
been very creative, overlapping.
Agreed.
We continue to explore this marvelous country. You know, about a 2.5-hour ferry ride off of Rio is Isla Grande. They have howler monkeys there. That's where they put the old keepers, I think.
Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Goodyear, more driven.
Oh, high above Copacabana Beach now, presented by T-Mobile. The World Cup rankings, the top 50 players. Andres Iniesta of the champs, Spain, the number 2 ranking player. Cristiano Ronaldo, process of elimination, and not a lot of surprise if you've been following the countdown. Number 1, Lionel Messi, coming here to Brazil in search of that one piece of hardware he doesn't own. ESPN FC hashtag World Cup ranking. If there was one image from South Africa that captured a national meltdown, it was that moment when the French fitness coach, Robert Duvin, incensed, threw his credential away in the middle of a team mutiny, a mutiny that eventually led to the French suspending 5 different players. It was, I'm sorry, 4 years later, it's still one of the funniest images in the history of world soccer as we consider the Group E, where Swiss have the ranked position, the seeded position, Ecuador, France, and Honduras, but the SPI index says look at the French as we come to you from our last call set where you'll spend a lot of time here at World Cup Tonight for the next month. We bring you complete coverage throughout the day here on ESPN with Ruud Van Nistelrooy, Alexi Lalas, Michael Ballack. Listening to these two guys talk about the respective goal-scoring feats, we should have put that on pay-per-view a little bit earlier. All right, are the French back? Are they truly, have they recovered their swagger and their pride?
I'm not sure. They're getting better. You know, what's happened a few years ago, I mean, it was a disgrace, you know. It can't happen. But that's happened when cameras, we love it, I mean, to see what's going on in the training ground. But for the players, for us, was not so good to train or have a professional training session, you know. But anyway, it's the past. And they have a big loss, you know, with Ribéry. The team was a lot relying on him over the last games. And it's a big loss for them. But other players have to step up now, like Benzema.
And Griezmann can come there on the left-hand side. You still got Benzema, you know, Valbuena. I like this French team. I was talking to a French friend of mine the other day, and he was telling me how it was embarrassing what happened to this French team in the World Cup. And the French don't embarrass easily, but they really recognized, and I think Didier Deschamps recognized that, look, we have an opportunity with the talent, it's undeniable talent, but to go in there and leave a lasting impression that is different than 4 years ago. And I think they're going to do it. I got them winning this group. By the way, a great group for France to come in, even without Ribéry.
Of all the groups, this could be one of the easiest cakewalks. We'll do F next, and that'll be the easiest, but this one, wide open for them.
Well, of course, it looks like that, but at least France has left that behind. It's been quiet. They were building on a solid team. There hasn't been coming out stories that they were like this. Thank God for France. They're talking about football now. That's the main thing. And the players, I think they'll be ready to take a revenge on that situation by showing France is back on world football.
Quickly, who comes second? Give me a country.
I go for Switzerland.
Switzerland?
Ecuador.
All right, wide open group. Michael, certainly the question in Group F, though, who's coming second, because it's pretty much a given what's going to happen at the top.
That's right, Bob. It's Bosnia-Herzegovina, Nigeria, and Iran. Those are the other teams trying to find that second spot. And we've talked so much about the dual national citizens in this World Cup, especially with the U.S. Steve Betashore, who's an American, who's part of the Iranian national team. They're 39th in the Soccer Power Index. Argentina, that clear favorite there, Bosnia-Herzegovina and Nigeria. Rounding out this Group F, Gilberto Silva, Santiago Solari have joined Roberto Martinez and I back up here. And obviously the conversation has to revolve around A, Argentina, and B, Lionel Messi. What would it mean for Messi to win this World Cup, in your opinion?
I think it would be for him to be, for all of us to agree that he is the best player in history. If Argentina gets to win the tournament and Messi has a big role in Argentina achieving it, he will be the best player in history.
Well, I think for Santi it's difficult, Mike, because in Argentina you will never compare anyone to Maradona. So Maradona is in a place, and then whoever is underneath is underneath. For the football fan around the world, this is the unique opportunity to see if Lionel Messi is ready to get anywhere near where Diego Maradona left it. And I think this is the stage for big players to show how good they are, aren't they, Jiva?
For sure. And I believe, for Messi is a big target. Imagine for himself, win the competition here in Brazil.
Yeah.
This is the team I don't want them to win here.
You don't want them to win here.
I don't want.
Anyone else is fine.
I want
for Argentina. That's okay for us.
Brazil first, of course, and then other team, but not Argentina. But for him, it's a big point for him to prove that he can be among those big players, Maradona.
How about playing in Brazil for Argentina? Is this as good a possible setting other than being at home?
I think it's almost better than playing at home. Less pressure. As he said, nobody wants us here, and we will arrive there on the path is quite clear for Argentina. The group is okay, it's fine. We cannot say it's easy because you cannot say that in a World Cup, but let's assume it's less difficult than the others. And if we get in the first position, the bracket is good and it opens until the semifinals for Argentina.
Well, Roberto, let's talk about the rest of the teams in this group briefly, because obviously Messi's the star power. Bosnia-Herzegovina, first time in the World Cup, yet players who are talented and we're familiar with from leagues around the world.
Yes, and believe me, the second place couldn't be more open. We know that Bosnia and Herzegovina, as you mentioned, is the first time that they're representing their country in the World Cup, but they got Zeko, they got real attacking threat, Pjanic, one of the best players for Roma. If they don't change the approach, if all of a sudden they want to be defensive-minded, there will be a mistake. But Iran, again, with a little bit the European organization of Carlos Queiroz, there will be a threat with De Jaga. And Nigeria, that we all know, they played here in the Confederations Cup, so they know what to expect. They got outstanding talent like Victor Moses and other players that they can do something. So the second place is up for grabs.
So intrigue in Group F as we continue here, going down group by group, getting you set for the World Cup. Now, Honduras was mentioned a moment ago by Bob and the gentleman in Group B. It's not all about work. Yes, some folks who are playing in the World Cup, some nations have taken their chance to check out the beach, the scene, and do a little bit of the dancing that is so wonderfully Brazilian. So many of the kids are waiting for their dream and their opportunity and their turn to play.
The young boy sits on the sideline, waiting on his turn to play. Before he can become a superstar or even a national hero known by a single name, the soccer players of Brazil face a simple yet vital task: getting in the game. He is patient, quiet, and intense. These are the longest moments of a boy's life, waiting to find out what he could be, what the future might hold. All he needs is a chance.
Welcome back to the 2014 FIFA World Cup Preview Show. ESPN's coverage is presented by T-Mobile.
You can see the Croatian team arriving in Brazil earlier today for their practice ahead of the curtain raiser at the 2014 FIFA World Cup. We are less than 24 hours now until Croatia will face the host city Brazil in their opening match in Sao Paulo, hoping to spoil the party. Sao Paulo is the 6th most congested city in the world. So some concerns for the fans there. The average traffic jams can reach 112 miles long, but traffic just part of life in Brazil. And we can find out how prepared the city is earlier. Here's Bob Woodruff.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I'm joined right now with Rubens Pazzi, who is the editor-in-chief for ESPN right here in Brazil. This has been such a dream for the people here, you included, to actually be the hosts of the World Cup. Has that dream really been fulfilled?
Bob, it was a dream, yes, for us 7 years ago when the government promised a lot of things that the World Cup could bring to our country. But 1.5 years ago, when people realized that all these benefits, all the infrastructure that they promised will not be delivered, they start to get mad. And that's why we saw that sad pictures during the Confederations Cup.
So it didn't level out the way that they thought it was going to happen. But what if they don't win the games, too? I mean, the dream is they could make up for all of this. The government could, if the team wins and becomes the champions of the World Cup. If they don't win, then what will happen?
Of course, that the expectation of the Brazilians is to win the World Cup. They are cheering for, and if Brazil loses, maybe a lot of people will get mad, a lot of people will get sad, but I'm sure that some people, some part of the country, will use that as a weapon against our president, because in October we will have elections and she will try to be re-elected.
So there could almost be depression on the streets if they don't win, but either way she would probably lose if they don't win the championship, if they don't win the finals.
We can't wait for everything. I really don't know how people will behave themselves watching the World Cup here in Brazil without the Brazilian team.
Well, they better win tomorrow in Croatia. Thank you so much. Lindsay, back to you.
Thanks very much, Bob. Now, after the break, we'll be hearing from the Brazil coach, Big Phil Scolari. He was in charge the last time they won the World Cup in 2002, and he's been speaking about their star player, Neymar.
The 2014 FIFA World Cup Preview Show. ESPN's coverage is presented by T-Mobile.
If there is one player who can be expected to feel the pressure, at least have it mounted on his shoulders, it is Neymar, age 22, the talisman of this Brazilian team who had a spectacular Confederations Cup training today. Felipe Scolari, manager of Brazil, redoubling that pressure today.
O craque será o campeão. Porque não adianta ser o craque da Copa do Mundo se não for campeão. Não vai tem objetivo só, campeão do mundo.
Here in our last call set, we're going to kick that. Santi, that's a little bit of pressure. When you saw that, we just saw it for the first time, what did you think?
It doesn't surprise me because he's very good at transmitting enthusiasm, not just to the team, but to the people as well, and choosing such a character, such a as Neymar, such a charismatic person, it embodies in him all this.
He does that very well because he has the ability to influence people, not only the players, but also everyone in the country. He'll do that, especially with the moment we are in the country.
He's a talisman. He's the guy who they're going to go to. Coaches said, "Here's your guy."
Yeah. Absolutely right. I mean, I worked with him, and he fits to this team, and hopefully he can bring him to the title. Maybe it would be good for the country.
It's not a one-off. He's been building this for a long time. He says this now. It's not a shot in the dark. You know, he's been building this belief. The only thing possible is to win it, and he says that now. It won't affect Neymar at all.
He says it now, but now the whole world is watching and listening. Michael, he's 22. This young man always looks like he can handle pressure.
So many stars, Messi, Ronaldo as well, but the pressure on Brazil, it'll be a special thing to watch starting tomorrow, Roberto.
It is, but don't forget Spain. It's great to see Brazil.
Of course you'd have to get that international.
Building Brazil so much. Don't forget the best team in the world.
Enough of the hypothetical. Let's get this thing going. Yeah. That's my final thought. Let's roll.
Doesn't matter whether you're Brazil or the U.S. Believe you will win.
No, you are unbelievable.
You saw from the beach, Bob on the pier, the music. This is broad, it's wide. Soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, means so much to so many of you in the States, whether it's where you were born, where you live now, the country of your ancestry. It's a broad thing. We'll have it all. Every game, every match, and all the conversation after. We look forward to it. The World Cup kicks off tomorrow on ESPN. We'll see you then.
Goodness me! Wonderful, glorious. Is this the moment? Yes, it is! Goal! That is beyond sensational. The roar is deafening here. Oh, can you believe this? How big a moment might that be in this World Cup?